Hello, this is Nissan Note. It's a 2012 1.5 DCI, and I'm going to take the EGR valve off. I've drained down the coolant system because the EGR is part of the coolant system. So running over the engine, you've got these two plastic hoses, and they go down to the turbo. So to loosen these off, you've got to undo the connectors at the top and go underneath the car and undo the two plastic hoses at the turbo as well. So one of them is a spring clip, spring clip like that, and that pulls out, and the other's two bolts with 10mm AF heads. So they're out the way, and behind is the EGR valve there. So it's got a plug socket, it's got coolant hoses, and it looks like there's three 8mm AF bolts securing it in place. The plug socket here, there's a yellow tab on it. You pull the tab outwards to release the locking mechanism, and then the plug pulls off. So just to let you know, I'm having a real tough time getting these hose clips off, these hose clamps. That one there, nightmare, absolute nightmare. Even though I'm closing it together with one of those, it doesn't want to slide beyond the metal insert. I tried taking these off, but this one here, the tang snapped off. These clips are a different type. You've got to unclip them, to unlatch them to get them to loosen. And the hose is very firm on there, very firm. So this is going to take some work to get this EGR released from its coolant hoses. Okay, so just to note that I also removed the battery and the airbox. So the airbox is here. It's got an electrical connector at the back, and this is what joins it to the air intake tube here, that concertina. So I remove those, that gives me much better access. So I've undone the hoses, that hose clip, that sprung one, I'm going to replace it with a Jubilee clip. And this hose here, and then securing the EGR are three bolts with 8mm AF hex heads, and just used a 1/4" drive ratchet to remove the three there. So it's now all detached. So I'm going to give it a good wiggle and extract it. Okay, I've got it loose now, so to do that I used a rubber mallet and a piece of nylon, and I bashed on the solenoid to get it to rotate. And once I'd cracked it, I could then rotate it by hand. That broke the seal on the gasket, and then I levered with this screwdriver into there. So while applying pressure with the screwdriver, with my other hand I wiggled it back and forth, and then it just came free. Okay, so the EGR valve's now removed. It was quite a fiddle with the coolant hoses being attached to extract it, and in there the valve is looking quite gummy, so I'll give that a clean. And I want to put power onto the solenoid and try and operate it, just to check it operates. But I see there's 5 connections and not just 2. Oh well, okay. So I've just given it a good spray with WD-40, and it's removed a lot of the black carbon deposits, and I'm going to leave it in this pot to soak. So I've soaked the valve in WD-40 and give it a poke with a screwdriver, and it's come up nice and clean. And I took this cover off, and here's the mechanism. And that's the valve operation. And it moves freely. So I'm just going to power up the solenoid with a PP9 battery and just watch it operate. So I've got a 9-volt battery connected to pins 2 and 5 in the socket, and so the motor's, it's not a solenoid, the motor is turning, but it's not driving the crank round. It's not driving the crank round, so it's not driving the valve into an open position. So there's something disconnected mechanically between the motor and the crank, and I can't get into it to have a look. So so my EGR has failed in the drive system between the motor and the crank, so I need a new one.